Hi, I'm Scott the Miniature Maniac, and in this video, we're gonna discuss whether or not making weekly content actually impacts a channel's performance. Let's find out. What up, Mini family? The neckbeard's coming in strong. I got a hat on. I'm wearing PJs and slippers. I don't have a script. Must be the worst video of the year. If you're new to the channel, this video is just a retrospective of the past year. We also look at the channel currently and also what's coming in the future, answer some viewer questions, read some spicy comments. It's a good time. I don't know why I got like Italian there. I think it makes most sense to start out with looking at the past. What was the best performing video on my channel this year? And that was the video where I sat down with a beginner and we painted a face start to finish, which was a real big shock for me. It was a 50-minute long video, you know, it's long form content, which I kind of know is back on the rise, but still, I didn't think it would do super well. I thought the idea was a good idea, but maybe not this good. It is funny because I put the video out and for the first 2 days it was doing very poorly. And then somewhere out of nowhere, I didn't do anything. It just started to climb really quickly, which was like, whoa, that's never happened to me before on YouTube. I've never had a video that started out bad and then did better. So that was really cool to see. And also all the comments on there were super informative and kind of honestly kickstarted a whole thing in my brain for the future of Miniac that I want to get into a little bit later when we're talking about the survey results for that survey you guys filled out a couple of months ago. And this year, the Miniac channel published 26 videos, which is a little bit low, but it is 6 more than last year and the year prior. And the other funny thing about it is that in Q1 to Q3, half of those videos came out, 13 of them. And in the last quarter, the other 13 came out, which if you've been following the channel recently, it's not a surprise to you. I started making weekly content. And honestly, if I was going at the trajectory that I was going at, I probably would have put out like 18 videos. So we really kind of turned it around there right at the end and making twice as many videos just in half as much time, or less than half as much time, 1 quarter as opposed to 3 quarters. So that was pretty interesting. Now the question I asked at the beginning of the video was, does weekly content matter for a channel? And the answer is kind of complicated. When I first started making weekly videos, I just happened to be striking gold repeatedly. Like 4 times in a row, my ideas were really good. I had 1 out of 10s, which means that the video I put out was performing at the first place slot of the last 10 that I made. But then afterwards, it kind of mellowed out a little bit. It kind of went more in the middle. And I'm kind of getting viewership that was very similar to what I had gotten before doing weekly content. It's unclear to me if making weekly content is impacting the weekly viewership of an individual Miniac video. In the beginning it was, and then a little bit later it wasn't, and so I'm unsure, honestly. There are a million other reasons why making weekly content is great for a YouTuber. One of those just being, it keeps you honest. I'm definitely the kind of person that does well with a little bit of pressure, a little bit of a schedule, and I kind of rediscovered that this year a little bit. Let's get some drink. Ooh, a little drinky drink. Drink of choice this morning, Diet Dr. Pepper. Woo! Okay, a couple other things I learned this year. YouTube rolled out this new feature that I was very excited for called thumbnail tests, and it allows a YouTuber to upload multiple thumbnails to a video, and then it serves up those different thumbnails to see which one has the best click-through rate. Sounds amazing. This basically allows you to figure out what kind of thumbnail resonates the most with your audience. But the one thing that I'm noticing about it, if a viewer doesn't click on a video you show them, YouTube will then show them a different one of your thumbnails. So it's not like, okay, person A is always gonna get thumbnail A, and person B is always gonna get thumbnail B. It's like, oh no, it didn't work for person A. Well, let's give them thumbnail B and see how they react to that. Now the one problem with doing that, and this is totally anecdotal, I have no way of actually knowing this, is when a viewer gets shown 3 different thumbnails for a video, they have a certain feeling about that video. Like, oh, what's the content creator trying to do? Are they trying to trick me into watching the video by giving it 3 different angles? And it makes them maybe not want to watch it as much? I don't know, that's my guess. I'm unsure of the benefit of doing the thumbnail testing. I think for a couple of my future videos, I'm gonna make just one thumbnail and one title, and I'm just gonna let it sit, and I'm not gonna touch it, and I'm gonna have hopefully a better idea going in, so I don't have to like come maybe scramble a little bit after the fact. But I think that might do better. In 2024, I painted around 40 miniatures. It's hard to tell if it's 38 or 42 or somewhere in there, so 40 is where I landed. A couple of ones that I am really proud of are the centerpiece for my Dark Eldar army, the Razor Wing jet fighter. Even though the base is a little bit wonky, I don't really care. I love the model itself. I think all of the additions I added to it really made it feel more like a Dark Eldar vehicle. And I really like it, and it was so much work, and I thought it turned out really nicely. Another one that I'm really proud of, just because of the opportunity, was to get to make a model for Blizzard. I painted this awesome bust of Xalatath for them. I had one of my sculptors make it using a concept art we found on X, and it was just a great experience. And then I painted it, but it was just really cool to like have a video game company from my childhood that means a lot to me reach out and be like, hey, let's do this thing together. And I proposed the model we wanted to make, and they were cool with it, and we went through with it, you know. You kind of just think that working with a large company like that is just gonna be like a miserable experience, and it really wasn't. It really wasn't. There wasn't like a lot of red tape or anything. They were kind of just cool with me doing anything. And then that model appeared in like their wrap-up video for the year. So that, honestly, huge honor to do that. That was really cool. And then I think another highlight of the models that I painted this year was definitely the Necromunda squad. Forever, I've wanted to make a highly converted little war band for any kind of game. It doesn't really matter what. And while this war band isn't like the most converted, like every dude isn't like kit bashed and sculpted on, there are still a couple that were a decent amount of work. And the paint jobs are nice too. They look nice together. That whole unit is just really cool to see, and I'm really happy. And I would love to add a little bit more to it. I want to add some bigger guys to get some more variety, maybe a vehicle, some of those walkers that Khador have. That Necromunda unit is awesome, and you will definitely see more Necromunda in the future. I'm into it, and I want to see that warband grow just a little bit. Ooh, one other past thing that I forgot was that I logged every single game that I played this year. And I ended up playing 213 games. And the #1 miniature war game I played, sitting at 11 plays, was Shatterpoint. And then right below that was Necromunda. But the top game I played this year was Star Wars Unlimited, loving that card game. And also Dice Throne, another fantastic, it's kind of a card game, kind of not a card game, more of a board game for sure. But yeah, been loving logging and playing games this year. One I played very recently that has some roots in miniature wargaming is a game called Thunder Road, which is definitely like supposed to be Fury Road, but it reminds me a lot of Gaslands, and it has me super hyped to convert and paint up a Hot Wheels car. I know people have been asking me to do that for a very long time, and sometimes you gotta just wait for inspiration to strike. And playing that game, Thunder Road, while it isn't like a super competitive game, it freaking nails the theme so well, and it was just so much fun to do. Before we get into the next part of this crappy year-end video, let's hear a brief message from this video's sponsor. While painting minis is definitely the focus of this channel, I'd love to be able to sculpt miniatures as well. The sponsor of this video, Skillshare, definitely has a few opportunities for me to make that happen. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across sculpting, painting, board game design, productivity, and more. There are literally thousands of classes, so the likelihood of finding the knowledge you're after is high. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level with a learn by doing model. I always struggle with learning a new topic theoretically, and it's only until I actually sit down and get my hands dirty that I fully grasp a topic. To learn how to sculpt miniatures, the options are pretty endless, but I was intrigued by a couple of classes that showed me how to sculpt a full mini from start to finish. Speaking of seeing the whole process, Skillshare also has a feature called Learning Paths, which is a curated collection of ordered courses that are meant to take you from beginner to master in a specific skill. This month, Skillshare is focusing on the theme of reflection, which is definitely appropriate for this video. A lot of hobbyists this time of year look back on their achievements in miniature painting. How many maze did you paint? Did you finish that army project that you were working on, etc.? The craft and hobbies section of Skillshare gives you an opportunity to turn that reflection into a physical reminder of your progress. Maybe you could take a carpentry course and make a simple display stand or a small display cabinet to show off your completed works for the year. Reflection is a super important part of our hobby mojo and also helps with continuing the journey in the right direction. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this episode. Now back to the video. All right, how about some new stuff and some upcoming stuff? So we're kind of getting into the present of Miniac. I installed some sound panels above this area where I film. And the reason for that is a lot of you guys can hear some of the AC sound that is unfortunately right above me. And I do everything in my power, now truly everything in my power, to get rid of this AC sound. This is the worst area in my entire office to record audio, unfortunately. But I think with all of these combined things, I think it's mostly solved. For the most sensitive people, maybe they can still hear it, but just turn the volume down a little bit, okay? Please. There's a new t-shirt coming. It's been a while since I've had new merch for Miniac. Just trying to solve other things before doing stuff like that, but it's an homage to my 2 dogs, Bullet and Crusher. Not a full Cerberus with 3 heads, but a 2-headed dog. There's a new miniature coming that you probably have heard about on the podcast, potentially, or if you're a patron, you already know about it. I'm not totally sure if that's a model that everyone's gonna be into. It's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer cheerleader bust, but I'm super happy with it. The cast I'm showing you right now is the first revision. We've made even more fixes to it after this to get rid of various minor defects, but it's a clean model. It's a model for a painter. You're basically, there's a lot of open space to do freehanding, to do texture, to do different kinds of finishes, like whatever you want to do with it. I'm very excited to paint it, but because I am unsure whether or not people are going to like it, it's gonna be limited edition. I think I'm gonna do 400 of them, and then when she's gone forever. So make sure to be on the lookout for that when it comes out, hopefully in February. For some more present day updates, I'm going to start posting YouTube shorts, I think on Wednesday. I think it'd be cool to get to a place where there was like Miniac content every day of the week. Not necessarily a video, but like a video, an Instagram post, a short post, or maybe like a podcast here, and like whatever, It'd be cool to have that. I don't know why that's something I'm striving for, but it just seems like an interesting metric to hit. And so I think Wednesday would be a cool day to see that. I already put one out for the last video that I made, and some of the comments were positive, so I want to keep doing that and see if that's a good thing for the channel or a bad thing for the channel. As far as the stream goes, I'm going to pause the stream for now, just because it is a lot to use up 4 hours of a workday every week for something that's not really advancing my goals on YouTube, like in a meaningful way. I personally love doing the live stream. It's something that I want to do. My plan for it is to come back once a month where I dual stream to both Twitch and YouTube, and it's a larger topic, and it's more of a directed stream. Like, it's not just random and kind of meandering, but there's an actual schedule, maybe a looser schedule, but a schedule that I'm sticking to and like an actual plan when I go into the stream. Lastly, for some future updates, normally I take January off just to have some time to recoup. And also January isn't like a huge month for content creation. But this month, considering how I have this kind of like role of doing weekly content for the last, I think it's 13 weeks, I'm going to instead do half as much content in January. And then when we get back into February, we'll get right back in it with doing weekly content again, hopefully for the rest of the year. Part of the reason why I need to take some time off is because I need to catch back up. For my entire content creation life, I have always worked like this. I paint a model, I edit a video. Or I write a script, I edit a video. Write a script, edit a video. And it's this very normal cadence. And so I'm very familiar with like how long that takes, how fast I can go, if it kind of gets a little bit murky. But the hard part about including an editor, which I'm trying to do, which is gonna help me make weekly content, is that I need to paint a whole video, essentially, hand it over to him, and then get started on my video, paint a whole model or write a whole script, and then edit that while he's editing in the background. And so that's just like a new way to think. I'm not used to thinking that way. And so I need to think about like the exact days of the week that I need to start on project A and then end and then begin on project B and hand footage off to the person. And my brain just isn't wired for that yet, but I'm learning. And so in January, I'm gonna re-catch back up. It started out good in October, and then I fell behind, and then January was just me like scrambling, or sorry, December was just me scrambling every single video, trying to finish it before the week came up. So yeah, I need to learn that, and so I just need some time to catch back up, but also some time to myself to take off and get a little bit of a breather. All right, so those are all the updates for past, present, future, Miniac. Let's get into some of the more specific things. Let's talk about that survey you guys filled out a long time ago. Almost 10,000 of you people filled that survey out. That was amazing. So much information in there, and I wanna go over some of it. We could have a whole video dedicated to this survey. Oh, by the way, I know the first survey got a little canned because I checked a wrong box on it, but I still had all of the results from that survey in a spreadsheet, and I was able to merge them all and analyze them with the power of programming. Felt good to stretch my Python limbs a little bit again. Question number 1 was, how long have you been watching Miniac content? The highest amount of people were in the 2+ year bracket, followed by 5+, and then 6 months to a year, and then 1 to 6 months. So that shows you a great idea of how these questions are gonna be answered. They're answered by people who are mostly watching the channel for over 2 years. 86 or 87% of them are like, have watched quite a few videos. And that kind of is gonna color everything. All right, the next question was, if you stopped watching Miniac content for any reason, what was that reason? Almost 50% of people said, I no longer cared for the subjects that I picked for videos. So that's very interesting. And that also aligns with what I thought about my content kind of being a struggle to consume. In that last video I put out in October, I said one of my issues is that I'm giving viewers content whiplash. You know, I keep changing the thing. And you know, some people were like, hey, you know, I like the diversity, and I like the diversity too. And there can still be diversity. But if half the people that left are saying that it was because of the subjects that I picked, maybe I should put more thought into what I am picking for videos. The next highest answer was the videos did not come out quickly enough at 36%. And I have to admit, that is a little bit puzzling to me. If we dive into the other answers, because there was an other option where you could fill in your own answer for that question, so many of them said something to the effect of, the algorithm stopped showing me your videos. I don't fully understand that. When I go on YouTube, where I start is the home tab, which is basically what the algorithm thinks I'm going to enjoy. But if I don't find anything in there and I'm scrolling for like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, I immediately go to my subscriptions tab and scroll through that to see if any of the people that I subscribe to put a video out recently. And so the idea of anyone stopping watching a content creator that they still enjoy, you know, this is an assumption I'm making, because the algorithm is not showing them videos is confusing to me. I don't understand why that is a roadblock. Let me know in the comment section below why that might be. And then below those were other lower percentage answers. I no longer cared about the style, the videos were too long, but those were smaller and so less compelling. But also another very interesting other response, sorry, was there's a lot more channels to watch, which I was kind of wondering when this would become a thing, you know? I just watched the Colin and Samir video where Linus Tech Tips said something that I didn't think about. And that was that back in the day on YouTube, it was easy to have a library of content, because if you had evergreen content and, you know, every video was getting 100 views a day, you know, your lifetime channel viewership would just increase, always. It would just always increase. And it wouldn't really matter about the individual performance of your videos. But that is not true anymore. Evergreen content isn't necessarily getting viewership like that anymore. And channel viewership is kind of flatlining a little bit. because those old videos are they're not being sought out a lot. They're not being served up by YouTube, whatever the reason may be. And I think part of that comes from having more competition in the space. YouTube is always gonna prefer to wanna serve up a new, fresh video to a viewer than one that was, 2 years old. Next question was basically, what are the most important components of a Miniac video to you? And the number one answer was getting advanced painting advice at 24%. Okay. Again, this makes sense if the people that are answering the survey, if 87% of them are mostly people who've been watching the channel for 2+ years, If they're newer people, fresher people, maybe that answer wouldn't be as high. But that's important. I may not make exclusively advanced content, but it's good to note that advanced content is stuff that I should make consistently, which I plan to do, absolutely. And then number two, confusingly, at 14.8%, was a variety of content. How much it changes, how you see different stuff, length, like format, style, all of it. So that was interesting. And then coming in very near that, at 14.4% is humor. And then right below that, also very similar percentage, is getting beginner advice at 14.3. And then the rest get less and less, and you'll see a little graphic here at the same time. The next question was very interesting to look at the answers for. And it's which Miniac video is your favorite? Link it below. By the way, when I say link it below, I mean put the literal YouTube URL down in the answer below. Of the 10,000 responses, at least 2,500 of you did not do that. You just maybe wrote in a description or something like that. We're gonna look at the top 5, but I'll show the top 10. Coming in at number 5 is that video I mentioned at the beginning, teaching a noob how to paint Warhammer. That was really cool, maybe a little bit of recency bias, but still, I think it's cool to see it on there. I think this video format is really interesting. And a lot of people have asked me to remake my old videos where I go over beginner skills. And I thought that, okay, maybe I could do that through the lens of this new format. I find a beginner, they sit down next to me, and we learn how to do layering. We learn dry brushing. We learn base coating. We learn basing. Whatever the beginner skill is, let me know if you think that's a cool thing. Number 4, know nothing about airbrushes? Start here. That is the most viewed video on my channel. I think something like 1.3 million views. And if I dove into the reasons for why people liked that video, which was the next question, question 5, it was just a lot of, this was so comprehensive, there was so much to take away from this video. It taught everything from start to finish, so if you knew nothing, it felt like you were in good hands. I would love to make a follow-up video to this airbrush one that goes over more advanced stuff. I've been airbrushing myself personally quite a bit, and I've learned a lot about some of the nuance of airbrush, and I wanna put that in a video. So be on the lookout for that, probably in February. Backtracking a bit to number 3, people said paint the same mini in 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, where I painted that Greyjoy Reaver. Again, the whole point of the video is to see the diminishing returns of painting and to see that with a real life comparison from the same painter using the same paint scheme, it has some power. And so people appreciated that video for that reason. That's number 3. Number 2 is the second most viewed video on my channel, converting and painting a Renegade Knight. I knew that was a popular video. Obviously, it's got a lot of views, which is why I did that Razor Wing Jet Fighter video. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. You don't know what's over there. My figure case is over there. That video also appeared on the top 10, I think at number 6. Yeah, that makes sense. You get to see a whole creative process, start to finish. It has great retention because you're changing the subject a lot. Here's some conversion, here's some airbrushing, here's some stenciling, here's some weathering, here's some normal painting, It's a lot of different stuff wrapped up in one, and so it has good just retention like kind of tendencies. And then, drumroll please, for the number 1 video by literally 1 vote. Literally 1 vote this video won. Is the incredibly normal painting video of me painting that bust. Now, it's very possible that if, some of those other answers that weren't links were actually links, that this wouldn't be number 1. Even if it's top 5, it's still an interesting result because this video doesn't have a lot of views. It's got like 160,000, which is a lot, but it's been out for like 3 or 4 years. So it's been accumulating those views for a long time. So the reason that people stated for that video being enjoyable for them was because it was just really cool to see the creative process for a display model from start to finish, to see all the different thoughts and considerations about why I did certain things. One thing that this video taught me, it's important to state your intent. Viewers pick up a lot from what you say, which is kind of obvious, but this kind of video where I walk you through painting a display model and I give you my thoughts is something I do very often. But in the beginning of that particular video, I start off with this problem, the problem being that not every single video I make needs to be transcendental. You know, it can be just a normal painting video. And stating that idea just up front kind of gives everyone that mind, you know, that kind of thought process. It's like, oh, okay, this is what we're in for. And you kind of think about that while watching the entire video, and it kind of sits with you. So I think it's important for YouTubers to really state their intent about why they're doing certain things, to give people a little bit of direction about how to think and how to feel. That was a video I did not expect to see in the #1 slot, in the top 5 slot, you know? So it feels good. It feels really good to see that. The last question, question 6, was just, do you have anything else to say? What do you want to say? And there were such an incredible variety of answers in that thing, so it's hard to summarize any of that stuff. My brain, while reading these survey results, was swimming, you know, like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I incorporate this? You know, YouTube is an interesting job because realistically, you, the viewer, are my boss. And it's tough at times. You have very harsh and maybe fair opinions about my channel and where it should go. And it's difficult because a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. And so it's like, okay, how do I go in this direction? Do I go in that direction? And so it's difficult to kind of take all of these responses and synthesize them into an average about where to go. But one thing that question 7, or question 6, the last question was, Scott, just be yourself. I'm really trying to take that advice to heart. And it's a little bit difficult because at certain times in my career, I feel like I have done what I want to do, and it hasn't been successful. And other times I have, and it has been successful. And I've done things I don't want to do, and they are successful. And I've done things that I don't want to do, and they aren't successful. So I feel like I've gotten a variety of results and attempts here, and I'm not necessarily sure what to do with it. But I'm going to try to take that advice to heart as much as possible and just focus on being, you know, Miniac. All right, it's time for the best portion of this video, the spicy comments. And we're gonna wet the whistle here with not a YouTube comment, but with one of the survey responses. It seems kind of timely. Hate watch. Your advice is largely trash. I think you spread more misinformation than you do information. Most of your actually useful videos are blatantly stolen from smaller content creators. You are a hack. First of all, savage. Second of all, I wonder what it must be like to have so little going on in your life that you could waste your time watching things you genuinely dislike. Sounds a little sad, honestly. All right, let's get into the actual spicy enchiladas. I have this whole folder just called Mean Comments, and I've kept all of the comments from every single past year, which I don't know why I do that, but I do. First comment, channel looks dead since the GW affair. That happened 2.5 years ago. I'm sure he or she looked at all of my content between now and then to make that assessment. Next comment, said it years ago when I unsubbed and I'll say it again, you're clueless Mr. Beast clone for Warhammer who doesn't have an actual goal. The only thing carrying the videos is the quality because otherwise you have very little meaningful to say ever. Boo! Got him! Well, if you unsubbed and you're coming back years prior to watch more videos, what does that say about you? Also, if I have little to say, you started this comment by saying, said it years ago and I'll say it again? Sounds like you don't have much to say either, FPS dude. I love comments like this. I hate videos like these. Just clicked on it to say this. I paint however I want to paint. I don't need to be a god of painting. I don't know how insecure some people are that you will click on a voluntary free video and think that the person in the video is telling you how you must do your hobby. You didn't even need to watch the video. You already made up your mind before clicking on the video, apparently. When you said non-metallic metal, I was out and didn't watch any further. This guy's leading the NMM hater charge. What's the point of this pointless video? Oh, hold on. We got to figure out where that comment came from. Ah, okay. It was on the video where I was talking about something that wasn't about painting, but was something about a lesson that I learned. Okay. It makes sense why people like this couldn't grok something like that. I get it. Content creator isn't describing what they're doing on screen at this very moment. I'm lost. This channel was once kind of good, but now you're just promoting yourself. Kind of annoying, really. Annoying that I am promoting myself on the videos that I make on the channel that I run that's free to watch? Do I even have to say it? This ain't no 1 out of 10. That dumbass YouTube algorithm. This is not my Lord of the Rings video, which I talked about probably on the podcast saying that it was a 1 out of 10. And apparently Joe Fiction does not agree with that. I wonder if we just search the comments on my channel for the word idiot, if we can just find a couple more bangers. Ah, yes, someone hating on my Age of Sigmar review. Seems like you don't understand dice games and randomness. All your complaints are the exact reason Alone of Us play this game? Weird, because I thought you were big in the scene, but this video makes you sound like a complete idiot. Well, if I knew what you were saying, I'd have a response. But you couldn't be asked to form a coherent argument. All right, that's it for the spicy comments. Let's get into answering some viewer questions. What was your favorite video you made this year and why? Was it the one with Jimmy? I think my favorite video for the year was definitely the Necromunda video. I spent a lot of time on that warband and also a lot of time on that video. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It's got some really cool shots with cool terrain. It's got like some conversion, some painting, some airbrushing. It's got a lot of hobby goodness in that video. And so that was a fun one, not only to make, but I've even rewatched that myself personally, because that's the kind of video that I want to watch. I want to see that whole cool creative process. What projects have got you excited for next year? I am very excited about a big project that I have planned. A lot of YouTubers have these large multi-part series that are like, 10 or more videos where they make a physically large thing, which is a little bit strange in our hobby of miniatures. And I haven't really found the right thing to do it with, but I have the greatest idea and I don't want to share it because I don't want to feel like I'm accomplishing it. One other thing that's going to be much smaller is my Alien Romulus diorama that I've started out by painting a figure. I'm very excited to finish that. That's gonna be a much shorter series, maybe like 2 more episodes, but I'm excited to see that come to completion as well. And I'm also excited to see my Dark Eldar army finished as well. Those are the 3 probably biggest ones that I'm the most hyped for. I know that first one I didn't really describe at all, but I think you're gonna love it. Have you ever had any interest in exploring Gunpla? I kind of always have said that I would love to try out all forms of the hobby, whether that's, toy restoration and modification, Gunpla, like painting chibis, miniatures for wargaming, like display models, like maybe even like dollhouse stuff, scale model stuff. I want to experience all of it. But if I'm being totally honest, I haven't found the love for big giant robots yet. But maybe at some point in the future I will, and then I'll be all over that. I like this question a lot. What is a 40K or AOS army you would be interested in working on but have never done a single model for? I would love to paint a model and at some point have an army of Gene Stealer cults. I've never painted a single Gene Stealer cult in my life, and I think it'd be very cool to paint one of those guys up with their sick dirt bikes and dune buggies and goggles, and they just look like wasteland warriors, and I freaking love it. I know you've taken a break from competitive painting. At the same time, it seems your interest in competitive gaming has increased. I'd love to know more about how these 2 competitive parts of the hobby feel different to you and why one interests you so much more at this point in your journey. There is a turning point in the process of painting a model for competition where it is no longer fun and it is just, you gotta just buckle down and get it done. And that is really a feeling that I, at this point in my hobby journey, never really wanna feel. I never really wanna feel like I am not having fun, and that's almost impossible to avoid entirely. But the thing about competitive painting is that it concentrates that time so much. Like if you're painting a model for 100 hours, at least 50 of those hours is a slog. And that's so much time spent not doing what you don't want to do. The reason why I stopped taking sponsorships that had me painting models that I didn't want to paint was because that's what it felt like. It felt like, oh, there's like, I got to paint this thing for 10 hours, 15 hours. I don't want to paint. You know, so I don't know why I would want to do that with competitive painting. You know, why would I want to spend any amount of time intentionally not having fun? I don't need the validation of winning an award right now to feel a certain way. It doesn't tell me anything about how I hobby that I find valuable right now. And I'm saying right now, and you know, because I feel like I can change in the future. You know, at one point I did care about this, and now I don't. And there's definitely a time where I might come back to it and find more value in it. But when it comes to competitive gaming, again, I haven't played in tournaments or anything, but I am a try-hard. I like to, you know, try hard against my friends and try to win and that kind of stuff. But I'm not competitive in that sense. I'm not putting in the same kind of work into gaming that I put into painting in the past. So I don't know if the comparison is totally fair, but the answer to the question is just that while I'm playing games, I never have that feeling. You know, I never have that feeling of, I'm doing work right now, or I don't want to be doing this and not having fun. So that's really what it comes down to. Does your perfectionism ever get in the way of finishing projects, and what do you do to get over it? Really, deadlines help a lot. The other thing that really helps a lot is just repetition and practice. And I'm not talking about like practice painting a model. I'm talking about practicing saying when a figure is done and seeing how you feel about it after the fact. You know, I paint a unit of 10 mandrakes. They're done. I put them on a table with my army and I see how I feel. It's like, okay, I cut all these corners in my head. It doesn't matter. Oh, you know, it doesn't matter. They look pretty dang good. I wonder if I could cut more corners, okay? I paint another 5-man, 10-man unit. And I cut even more corners. And then I say they're done, and I put them on the table next to my army. And I think, do I care? Does it look worse? Yes, it does look a little bit worse. I wish it was a little bit better. Okay, I went too far. And not, you know, so that process, that kind of back and forth process, is gonna teach you what you think is enough for army painting. So I think that is what you need to do to kind of get over perfectionism. You kind of realizing that, yo, I don't need it to be perfect to be done, and also for me to be happy with it. Favorite flavor of raw jelly cube. Sorry, I do love your work. I love how that had to be stated. Ooh, this is a great question. If you were to cosplay as something, what would it be? I think it would be a Death Trooper. I loved those fully black armored dudes from Star Wars Rogue One. It would definitely be something in the Star Wars universe and something Imperial for sure. In the past year, what surprised you the most? I think it's gotta be what I said in that video where I talk about the most important lesson I've learned in my life so far. And that is that humans have the capability to decide whether or not they want to enjoy something. You know, whether or not you enjoy anything in life is really not entirely, but you have a massive impact on that, you know? And you can frame and wire your brain in such a way to really appreciate things for what they are. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, you know, Gundams are on the table. This movie genre that I hated are on the table. This book thing, you know, books in general, I'm not a big book reader. I was like, you know, what about books that people who enjoy reading, what do they like about them? Can I wear that hat? You know, can I be that person to try it out for a little bit to see what it's like? You know, it's like that to me is such a empowering idea, you know, that you have a massive role to play in what it is that you're going to enjoy. When you have a project that spans multiple sessions, do you struggle to pick it back up? If so, what specifically do you do to overcome that initial hump to get back into the project? I think some of those projects that occur for me are ones that you guys don't see that happen on the live stream. So I painted Darth Vader in like a fully red palette because I just wanted to see what that would be like. And that was a slog. You know, I tried a lot of things didn't work. I repainted a lot of parts of that model. And honestly, it's kind of working right now. It still has problems, but I'm not gonna paint more of it. But what really helped me was consistency, having that schedule of that live stream to go back to every week. And it's like, okay, I'm painting this guy right now. You know, it's just what I'm doing. So that really helped. So if, say you paint 3 days a week, right? One of those days, maybe you could dedicate an hour of time or the whole session to working on that thing that you know you want to progress, but is a little bit of a struggle to progress right now. If someone happens to send you some War Machine models, would you be down to paint them? You know, it's interesting. There are a lot of very large games and IPs in the hobby that I've never painted a single model from. and I would love to correct that. I have some War Machine models that I really like already, so don't have to send me any, but I do plan on painting some models from games and armies that I've never touched before, because I think you guys would be surprised to see how many things I've never touched once. Other than shaking my hand at Adepticon, what was your biggest hobby achievement of 2024? I think getting back in the saddle with weekly content was definitely a feel-good thing. You know, it's been a year since I've done that. Definitely had to relearn that skill a little bit. You know, I'm shooting this video the day before it has to go out, so definitely a skill I'm relearning. But to have done it 13 weeks in a row is definitely a signal to me that, okay, I can still kind of do it, and I'm feeling good about that. Is that a hobby achievement? I don't know, but that's definitely a Miniac achievement that I'm proud of. What's your biggest gaming red flag / gripe? Okay, I think that gamers in miniature wargaming have an obligation to the player across the table from them to ensure, at least in some small capacity, that they're having a good time, okay? We are sitting down and we are spending potentially 3 hours, you know? A lot of people can play games fast, but those are the minority. A very small minority can play war games fast. Most people, when they sit down to play a war game, spend a long time doing it, okay? 3 hours, maybe even longer if you want to count setup and all that stuff. And if the person across from the table from you is a subhuman and they don't have like people skills and they have zero care about like what is going on your side of the table and how you're feeling, that person is dead to me. I'm never gonna play them in a game again. I'm not saying it needs to be your biggest concern. I'm not saying that you need to throw your game so your opponent has a good time. But if you aren't a pleasant human being to play against, I don't wanna play against you ever again, literally. So when I can identify that a person doesn't give a crap about the experience that both of us are sharing, that is a red flag. When can we expect more Kill Your Friends? As a side question, any thoughts on potentially doing bat reps in a similar aspect to mini wargaming? You know, if I could be totally honest, I'm not a big fan of the holding the camera while narrating what just happened in a war game. I just don't think it looks great. I don't think the story is interesting. I would love to make more Kill Your Friends, and I'm hugely inspired by Games Night. The folks over at Yogcast, they made a channel about miniature wargaming battle reports. And the way they do it is just wonderful. They don't care at all about rules. They just are about sharing the experience, right? They play a different game almost every single time. To explain all those rules would be a slog. It's not what people are there for. They're there for the interactions, for the experiences, for a little bit of the strategy, you know, for the fun dice swingy outcomes, you know? I would love to be more inspired by them. I know in my battle reports, I get into the rules in a huge nitty-gritty way, but on the next one that I make, I would love to kind of dial that back a little bit, do a little bit of that, but not a ton of it, and really focus on the experience of the game itself. When's the next one gonna be? I have no idea. Because I'm making weekly content, it's kind of difficult to slot that in because they are challenging videos to make. But Necromunda is on the table. Age of Sigmar is on the table. A couple others. Shatterpoint is on the table. My squad is done for that. I got it all painted up. So I have options. I need to be a responsible adult and plan accordingly and stick to a plan. And those are skills that I do not have. When will you buy a new sponge for your wet palette? I have a bunch of sponges. I keep like 6 or 7 or whatever. I keep a bunch down here in my drawer and I swap them out, which is a great hobby hack for you. You should just buy a bunch of wet palette sponges and just keep them on hand so that you can swap them whenever you need them. There are a few things that I like to keep a lot of just because I never want to be without it. Super glue, sponges, isopropyl alcohol, paper towel. Those are some of the things that I have a lot of. Gloves for airbrushing and for 3D printing. Are you planning some Trench Crusade content? Yeah, definitely. I backed that for some of the resin models because they look so sick. I would love to paint some new Antioch miniatures. Again, I'm slow. I'm slow with trends, and so I feel like I'm a little bit too slow to start painting them now. So my plan was when the stuff starts to fulfill the physical stuff, typically there's another kind of wave of interest when that happens. And so when I get my physical models, my resin stuff, I want to paint that up for a video. That's my plan. Why did you give up on commission painting? Ultimately, this is my hobby, and I treat it so preciously. And one thing that I'm always trying to do, always, is that I want to paint things that I actually want to paint. And the thing with commission painting is that is rarely the case. Sometimes it aligns, sometimes you are painting things that you actually enjoy, but also part of the enjoyment of the hobby is having the physical thing when I'm done with it, I get to see that beautiful model, I get to put it in my case, I get to maybe play some games with it, I get to bring it over to the source and show some people. It's mine, it's part of my collection. I love to collect things, I like to collect Steelbook Blu-rays, I like to collect, miniatures and games and cool graphic t-shirts. I like to have things, I'm a squirrel with nuts. And so the whole thing with commission painting, potentially painting things that I don't like and then not getting to keep it, it's just not for me, You mentioned stuff about having like deadlines and that being helpful. That is helpful, 100%. I have my own deadlines that are unrelated to commission painting that help me get through projects as well. But I think it's important to say that just because commission painting isn't for me does not mean that it can't be for you and anyone else. No, that's kind of just a choice that I've made for myself. If you've determined that you enjoy it, 100%, keep doing it. It's an awesome thing. We need commission painters out there because there are people that love to play this game, that want to have painted models, that have no interest or time in doing it. So I think commission painting is an important thing, and we definitely need people to do that. What keeps you motivated to keep making videos? Why are they important to you? That's a deep question. Okay, I'm gonna be really honest right now. The weekly schedule is a huge motivation. Having a sponsor in a video that has a contracted publication date is a huge thing. For better or for worse, I feel awful when I let someone down, like when I make a commitment that I can't do and I wait until the last minute to say that I can't do it. That is the worst feeling. I'm getting better about identifying when I'm not gonna be able to complete something on time and telling the person ahead of time if that is a thing. Like for instance with Jay, there's no heckin' way that I was gonna paint that whole Dark Eldar army in 2024. And so I think in like October, I was like, hey, can we extend this? That'd be amazing for me and my mental health. And he was okay with it. But also having ideas that I'm excited about. When I was making videos during my Kickstarter, I kind of just didn't think about the videos at all. I was like, oh my God, I need to make a video. What should it be on? Grab the thing that's closest to me and make it. Now I have like a video list that is very curated, very descriptive, of like 60 or 70 video ideas that I really like the idea. I think they're good ideas. I think they're great for YouTube and they're things that I want to do. And so I genuinely want to do those things and I'm excited about them. It's about slotting them in at the appropriate time when it makes most sense. Will you do another funny short film like the one with Sam, Ninjon, and the gang? Or is that something you're not interested in anymore? Definitely less interested in that. I love making movies, That's the reason why I got into YouTube, one of the reasons why I got into YouTube in the first place. We have filmed some that are just unedited. There are 2 narrative shorts that are fully unedited, and one is more recent than the other that I shot with Alex from 52 Miniatures when he visited me, I don't know, like 2 years ago. And I made a deal with Alex that if I never got to that video, I would hand him over the footage in 2024. And guess what? I never got to it. And so I'm gonna be giving that footage over to Alex so that he can edit that video and put it on his channel, but it's gonna be a riot. I think it's gonna be hilarious. So be on the lookout for that one to come out soon on his channel. Cane's Bob style bread, you know it every single time. And also extra crispy fries, those 2 things. There's a lot of music questions, and one of them is about the top artists for the year. My top artists were, the number 1 was Hans Zimmer. I don't know how that happened. I like the Dune Part 1 and Part 2 OST quite a bit, but I don't listen to him that much. But apparently he's my number 1 artist. Number 2 is Alan Stone, kind of more of a funk, jazzy artist. 3 is Wolfpack, more funk. Number 4 is Silent Planet, love Silent Planet. And number 5 is The Black Dahlia Murder. On a scale from "Oop" to tater tot hot dish to just gonna sneak past ya there, how Minnesotan do you think you are? I think I'm a 5, I'm right in the middle. I got a little bit of tendencies, but also I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I think a lot of Minnesotans will spite themselves for what they think is the betterment of other people, and I am not about that. I hate that more than you could know. Will you ever give Star Wars Legion a shot? Abso-freaking-lutely. I would love to paint an army for that. I painted my first Star Wars Legion model this year, and it was Eden Versio, and had a blast doing it. All right, last question. How has your understanding of game design evolved over the past year? Any surprising revelations? Yeah, I think there's one surprising revelation. The only thing that matters is the experience at the table. And I think a lot of people get really hung up on getting the rules right, because there is some belief that the rules are developed perfectly and in a balanced way for all comers. And most times that is true. But if you identify a thing in a game that you and your players at the table are not enjoying, you should remove that thing immediately. And this is a thing that I really learned from DMing my role-playing game for Star Wars. The experience is the only thing that matters. And that is it for this video. Likely longer than normal ones because we went over the survey results as well. And I think I answered a few more questions than I normally do. I can't totally remember. But I'm excited for the future of Miniac. I probably say this every single year. But, you know, we ended the year strong. It didn't start out super strong, but I'm curious to see what a full year, starting in February, looks like for weekly Miniac content. And I'm curious to see what you think as well. I'm sure there will be growing pains, like me trying to figure out how to, you know, fit it into the schedule. Maybe I'll make a video that are awkward, you know, that's awkward and that's not for everybody, or that I kind of just miss, you know, maybe I don't put enough effort into it. It's gonna be a learning experience for sure. But I'm excited for it, you know, I think the prospects are good. If you like the channel and you want to support it, there are a number of ways to do that. All things linked down in the description. Patreon, my web store, buying the hobby equipment that I use most often with my affiliate links down there. Maybe turning off Honey so Honey stops siphoning my affiliate sales, bastard. And also keeping a lookout for that new t-shirt and that new miniature that is coming out sometime soon. Don't miss that. If you want to get an email when that thing comes out, go to my web store and sign up for the emailing list. I will definitely send an email out when that thing gets launched as well. Subscribe today! And most importantly, don't forget to paint more minis!